Hi guys. First of all, we have to say thank you, Kevin, for the time to talk about your novel. And for me, it's a pleasure to talk about this novel. And for the Fondo de Cultura Económica, thank you very much for the time that they spent to talk with the authors just like you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for. I'm always honoured. I love coming to Mexico, and I haven't been for quite a while, so I'm just really pleased to be here.
Y bueno, esta novela habla de precisamente pues una situación que la vamos a nombrar funación. The people sometimes about around the novel. Um, it's murder, but it's a situation very special because the guy that suffered the crime didn't know anything about it. It's a very representative thing around Mexico City because we have a layout or slogan that you will suffer the justice to prove that you are innocent, but first you are going to go to the prison. It's the kind of example uh, that happens around the world, not just only in Mexico.
Hmm.
What do you want to talk us about the novel?
Well, it's a bit strange talking about it because I realised it was actually published about getting on for 20 years ago now in England. Um, so it was nice to sort of go back to it and read it because I haven't read it for a long time. And I think when you haven't read one of your own books for a long time, you can kind of go back to it and think, oh, this is pretty good. This is okay because it's so distant from you now that you can kind of judge it. So it's really nice just to sort of go back and read it again. Did you want me to sort of stop in little short?
Yes,
Yeah.
please. Bueno, la respuesta fue, es extraño hablar de esa novela ahora porque es un libro que se publicó hace casi 20 años en Inglaterra. Regresar al libro y volver a leerlo es bueno porque hace mucho que ya no lo hacía. Cuando uno vuelve a un libro de esta manera, siempre es bueno porque hay distancia y esa relectura te da otros matices.
And sorry, I didn't actually answer your question, but I've always been fascinated by kind of crime fiction, um, partly because that's okay. Um, Partly because I kind of grew up reading classic sort of private eye novels. And I think the reason I like it is because kind of quite. I've always been fascinated uh, in kind of crime in terms of looking at it. It's a completely different world, and like you probably know that here better than anywhere else. So you have the sort of the normal world, and then you have this other world, and it's just fascinating seeing the difference between the two. I'll stop there.
A mí siempre me ha fascinado la novela de crimen, la novela criminal de ficción. Yo crecí leyendo este género, siempre me ha fascinado. Es un mundo diferente el que se toca en este tipo de novelas. Probablemente ustedes lo sepan mejor que nadie, que en otros lugares. Y obviamente la diferencia entre la apreciación de una novela de este tipo aquí en otros lugares, pues obviamente es diferente.
You talk about the London and England was so different, no? Some kind of consequences of Brexit we can see in this novel.
Really? um, I've never. Could you tell me what those are?
Because I think that youngest people around the world, not only of England, have a little conception about the I don't care about my life. I don't care about the justice and the politics, no?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way that these kind of things happen because you didn't go to the to vote and to take care about your kind of way of life, no?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And when you suffer this kind of injustice, you are realize that you don't be a citizen, a kind of
Citizen.
citizen,
Yes.
no?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, about Brexit, it was there are so many people, a lot of people who it was like the worst decision ever made, and there was absolutely no need for it. It was purely politics, playing games, trying to stay in power, which it always is in politics. But it changed our lives so much. Nothing good came out of it. Our economy is losing out. Um, our connections with other European countries are, you know, and it's just a terrible. How on earth did it come to that? And yeah, it was a terrible thing, very embarrassing and stupid. Um, but you're right, I think, about um, part of the sort of looking at the differences between our civilized so-called world and the politics and a different world. It kind of goes back to Hobbes's Leviathan about sort of the state and the kind of the covenant civilians or whatever agree to. Sorry, I was too long there.
Bueno, hablando del tema Brexit, muchísima gente pensó que esa fue la peor decisión, que no había ninguna necesidad de hacerlo, que era pura politiquería, como eran juegos para quedarse en el poder. El impacto que ha tenido en la vida de las personas ha sido fuerte. Hay gente que piensa que pues, definitivamente nada bueno ha salido de ahí. La economía está muy mal, las relaciones con el resto de Europa también fueron negativamente impactadas. Entonces todo esto ha sido vergonzoso, ha sido estúpido, pensamos que cómo llegamos a ese punto. Y por otro lado también ves las diferencias que existen actualmente en el mundo civilizado, las diferencias desde el punto de vista político y definitivamente lo que viven los ciudadanos y los civiles pues es otra cosa totalmente distinto a Brexit, por ejemplo, y a todo lo que lo originó.
And you show us a kind of family so strange, but all of the members of this family are chasing their own truth. And I think that this novel is about the relation between the family and chasing the truth.
Mm. Um, I think one of the reasons that I like crime fiction is that it's not really about crime at all. The crime part of it is works as a very good framework for all kinds of stories. But in the end, they're stories about people, as all books are. And again, in particular, this particular kind of setting, family situation, um, the idea that you kind of be the state is not listening to you, and we have plenty of those kind of estates, housing places where it again it's a world within a world, and it's the same everywhere. Um, and it's very hard, I think, for young people growing up in that kind of situation where they might not have, don't always have kind of a mother and a father, so it could be just a lot of single mothers. And if they if they kind of think there's nothing, the state, the sort of the outside world is providing nothing for them or not listening to them, there is the alternative of going into the drug business, crime, cartels, whatever. And it's a tempting thing. For some people, it's the only way they can see of um, making money, getting out of it. Um, and they kind of, I was writing another book recently about the same kind of things, and I was basing the gang stuff on a lot of Mexican, and I just finished reading Roberto Saviano's book about the Italian crime families. Sorry, I'm going on far too long.
Could you please repeat the idea about the book you wrote that's a similar book about the Mexican gangs?
Yeah, well, the book's called Bad Castro, and it's set in South London, where there are lots of street gangs and drug and cartels. And again, the kind of book was about um, the two different worlds, what's right and what's wrong, um, who decides what's right and wrong, um, and kind of looking at. There was only two characters in the book, and it was a very a sort of a young boy who was caught up in gangs and was kind of a really bad, suspected of murder and all that sort of stuff, and a young policewoman, and they sort of come together, and they have to sort of make their way back through the streets of London to safety, and it just becomes a look at their different lives and what you have to do sometimes in order to survive. Which again, I think with Johnny Delgado, it's the same thing. It's all about, yeah, of course.
Bueno, hablando de la novela de la ficción de crimen, al final el crimen simplemente es un marco para la historia. Lo que importan son las historias sobre las personas. Todos los libros en realidad son así. En este libro en particular, la situación familiar, lo que yo quise mostrar es esta idea de que el Estado no te escucha, cuando el Estado no te escucha, cuando es como un mundo chiquito dentro de un mundo más grande. Hay jóvenes que crecen en situaciones así, no siempre tienen a su papá y a su mamá juntos, hay muchísimas madres solteras, el Estado tampoco les da nada, el mundo exterior no les da nada, entonces estos jóvenes que crecen así, pues su única forma de salir adelante es incursionando en el negocio de las drogas o en cárteles. Para mucha gente es la única forma que tienen de sobrevivir. Escribí un libro similar recientemente, se llama Dark Cash Flow, es de un chico del sur de Londres. Él, a pesar de ser tan joven, ha cometido asesinatos y es la historia de él junto con una policía mujer, una joven, y son sus andares por el sur de Londres. También acabo recientemente de leer un libro de Roberto Saviano que habla también sobre la mafia en Italia.
Thank you very much. Do you? I think that you show through your novels, your books, this lost generation of youth. No, just I think sometimes the history bites the ass.
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
and we are living just the same times that the First World War. No,
Hmm.
in Russia, I saw a documental that it will be nominated for the Oscars. Mr. Nobody against Putin, and I saw
I
the
saw it.
same kind of structure that el bigote chistoso, ahí no puedo decir la palabra de Hitler porque me controlan el video.
She's making reference to this guy that led the Nazi forces.
Yeah,
That cannot be said on video, but you
yeah,
know who
yeah,
we
yeah,
are talking
No,
yeah.
I say the funny mustache.
Yeah, I agree. I saw that documentary, and it was a very sort of quiet documentary, wasn't it? But that kind of emphasised so much uh, what those the children were being kind of forced fed to do,
Yeah.
and if they grow up thinking like that, uh, and it's been like that, yeah, for it's always been like that. And funnily enough, I was kind of um, I watched that, and I'd been reading all sorts of other stuff about the war in Ukraine, but I'd also just finished reading a really fantastic history of the kind of the Third Reich and how it came about and the conditions and all that sort of stuff, and then also comparing that to the Trump administration and seeing it's never changed. It's always there, and I don't know what the answer is. I'm not, I don't know what the answer is to anything, but it's very interesting.
Ah, perdón, no sé.
Vi el documental al que te refieres. Me pareció un documental un tanto silencioso, por decirlo así, es una mirada silenciosa a la situación. Hay niños obligados a hacer cosas horribles. Cuando tú naces en un contexto así, pues, ¿qué puedes hacer? He leído mucho sobre la guerra en Ucrania. Recientemente leí un libro que habla de las condiciones que se están viviendo por allá, también el impacto que ha tenido la administración de Trump sobre el conflicto. Y en realidad, si lo piensas, las cosas nunca cambian. Es un libro muy interesante este que acabo de leer.
Okay, well, I think that your novel it's a reflection about this situation, no? And you can give us, if you are an adult or young people, to think more about it, no? All the situation and all the things that we are going to do, no? For just like the citizen, to vote, to try to work so hard, no, to make this world so great. I appreciated the novel, and thank you very much for the time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's really interesting.
Muy interesante entrevista, muchas gracias.
I like to write about the kind of sort of big stuff in life, the stuff about what it means to be human, all those sort of things, but without sort of I'm not pushing it down anybody's throat. I'm not. I never have any answers, but it's just nice to talk, but try and raise instead of just looking at stuff sort of on one level. You need to look higher, um, and not to say this is terrible. Why are these people doing this? But you just go a bit higher and um, look at it in terms of kind of human evolution, stuff like that, without sort of making it too, too boring or complicated. But you can do it in a straightforward, very simple story.
A mí me gusta escribir sobre los temas importantes, sobre lo que nos hace humanos. En realidad no me gusta hacerlo atacando a nadie, lo hago sin atacar, sin criticar, sin apuntar dedos, simplemente subrayando lo que es verdaderamente importante y se puede lograr a través de una historia muy sencilla.
Well, thank you very much for your time, and I appreciated the interview. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.